When I got engaged, my parents told me to hand my wedding fund over to my brother, saying he needs it more. He laughed, it's only fair. But when they found out who was actually paying for my wedding, their jaws dropped. I'm 29 years old, living in Denver, Colorado, and recently got engaged to my partner Ethan we met during our college years at the University of Colorado and have been together for 6 years. After years of building our careers and lives together, we decided it was time to tie the knot. My parents, both in their late 50s, have always been traditional. They believe in family values and have always emphasized the importance of supporting one another. My younger brother, Dylan, 26, has been the golden child despite multiple career changes and financial missteps. My parents have always bailed him out. Growing up, my parents had set aside all wedding fund for both Dylan and me. It was a modest amount, but it was meant to help us start our married lives. When I got engaged, I approached my parents to discuss the fund. We were thinking, since Dylan is going through a tough time, perhaps you could let him use your portion of the wedding fund. My mother said, he needs it more right now, my father added. I was stunned. This was money that had been promised to me for years now. They wanted me to give it up without any consideration. It's only fair, Dylan chimed in, smirking. I felt betrayed. Not only were my parents favoring Dylan once again, but they also expected me to sacrifice my dreams for his mistakes. Determined not to let this setback ruin our plans, Ethan and I decided to fund our wedding ourselves. We started budgeting, meticulously cutting unnecessary expenses, and even took on extra work to save up. Ethan's parents, seeing our dedication, generously offered to contribute to our wedding fund. We chose a beautiful venue in the Rocky Mountains, aiming for an intimate ceremony with close friends and family. We wanted our wedding to reflect our journey and love for each other. As the wedding plans progressed, we sent out invitations given the circumstances. I was hesitant to invite my parents and Dylan. However, Ethan believed in giving people a chance, so we extended the invitation. To our surprise, they RSVP'd, promptly expressing excitement about the upcoming event. I couldn't help but feel a mix of emotions, anger, sadness, and hope that perhaps this event could mend our strained relationships. A week before the wedding, during a family dinner, my parents inquired about the wedding expenses. How are you managing everything without the fund? My mother asked. Ethan and I have been saving diligently, and his parents have been incredibly supportive. I replied. Their faces turned pale. You accepted help from his family? My father asked, clearly taken aback. Yes, they've been wonderful. Dylan, who had been silent, suddenly spoke up. So you went begging to his parents while we offered you a solution? No, Dylan, I chose to stand on my own 2 feet rather than rely on broken promises, I retorted. The room fell silent. Our wedding day arrived, and it was everything we had dreamed of. The venue was breathtaking, the ceremony heartfelt, and the reception filled with love and laughter. My parents and Dylan attended, but remained distant. They seemed out of place, perhaps realizing the depth of their actions during the father-daughter dance. My father approached me. I'm sorry, he whispered. I nodded, tears in my eyes. In the months following the wedding, our relationship with my parents and Dylan remained strained. They struggled to accept that I had built a life independent of their control. Ethan and I focused on our future, cherishing the love and support from those who stood by us. We learned that sometimes family isn't defined by blood, but by those who uplift and support you unconditionally. About a month after the wedding, I got a text from my mom. Not a call, just a short, cold message. Your brother needs help, you should do something. I didn't reply. Honestly, I thought maybe it was about a flat tire or something small. But a few hours later, Dylan called me himself, first time in over 2 months. He didn't say, "Hello, are you really not gonna help me with rent?" He said right away. "Mom and Dad said you could." I laughed out loud. I couldn't help it. "Why would I pay your rent? You just threw a mountain wedding and wore designer shoes." He snapped. "You've got money." I told him the truth. We worked our asses off for that wedding, and we still have debt. You think we're rich because we made it look good. There was a pause. "So you're not going to help?" he asked again. Quieter now. "No," I said. "Used up your safety nets. It's time you figured it out." He hung up that night. My parents called me together. My dad's voice was sharp, colder than usual. "Dylan's being evicted. You could have prevented this." I stayed calm. "You promised me that wedding fund for over 10 years, then you gave it to him because he needed it more. How is this still my fault?" My mom sighed loudly, like she was exhausted from my behavior. "You're being petty, we're family." "No, you are being blind," I said. You always save him and he never learns. I'm done cleaning up your messes. My dad mumbled something about selfishness. I ended the call. That was the last time we spoke for weeks. 3 weeks later, Ethan and I were at a friend's dinner party. One of his old high school friends, Tessa, was in town. We'd never met before. But the moment she saw me here, yes, widened. Wait, your husband is Ethan Adams. Like Dylan's brother-in-law, Ethan. I froze. How do you know Dylan? I dated him for like 6 months last year. Total disaster. He told me his parents were loaded and that you were giving him your wedding money to invest. I thought he was rich. I just blinked at her. She went on. Yeah, he said you owed him because you stole his college fund or something like that. I was stunned. Dylan had clearly rewritten history to make himself the victim. Not just to Tessa, but apparently to others. To that night, I called my mom. Did Dylan tell you I stole his college fund? There was a long pause. He said you convinced us to use more of it for your tuition. When he dropped out, is that not true? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. He failed out. You remember that, right? He blew through his half partying. You told me he was done. You asked me if I wanted to use the leftover money. I don't remember it that way, she said quickly. Maybe because you only remember what makes Dylan look good. She hung up. A week passed. Then I got an email from Dylan, just one line, I'm sorry. You were right, attached a screenshot of a job offer from a landscaping company in Durango. Said he was moving there to get a fresh start for the first time in years. I didn't know how to feel. I wasn't ready to forgive him. But maybe this time he'd actually change. 2 days later, I was in the backyard watering plants when a black car pulled into our driveway. Ethan wasn't due home yet, and we weren't expecting anyone. It was my dad. He stepped out, looked older, more tired than usual. Can we talk? He asked. I didn't answer, just walked inside. He followed. Your mom doesn't know I'm here, he started. She thinks you've changed, that you're cold now. I know. That's not true. I stood still. I messed it up, he said. I let your brother become this person. I pushed you away. I'm sorry. It was the first time he'd said that in my entire life. I said nothing. He left after 10 minutes, no yelling, no accusations. A few days later, a handwritten letter came in the mail. From me, Mom, 8 pages. It started defensive. She justified her past choices, blamed stress, blamed Dylan's bad friends, but by page 6 the tone changed. I see now what we asked of you was cruel. I didn't realize how much we made you. Carrie, I don't know if you'll forgive me. Still no ending, still no resolution. But for the first time, they weren't just defending Dylan, they were facing what they did to me just when I thought things were cooling down. I got a call from my cousin Jenna. She's a few years older, and we were close growing up, though she lives in Seattle now, and we don't talk often, so she said not even bothering with hello. I just found something weird. You might want to sit down. Turns out Jenna had been helping her dad, my mom's brother, with old paperwork and taxes in one of the folders. She found a notarized document dated 8 years ago, showing that my grandparents had left money in trust, specifically for my wedding, not a general fund for both me and Dylan. Not a shared account, it was a dedicated fund in my name. I was stunned. Jenna took a photo of the paperwork and texted it to him. There it was in black and white, to bear served for my full name, for the purpose of marriage, home ownership, or continued education, and yet that account was now empty. I drove to my parents' house. I didn't warn them. I wanted to see their faces when I brought it up, when they opened the door. I walked straight to the kitchen and placed the printed copy of the trust document on the table. I want to know what happened to this. My mom stared. Her mouth opened and closed, like she forgot how to speak. My dad looked away. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't have to. I had a right to this. It was left for me. Why did you act like it was up for discussion? My mom sat down slowly. It was years ago. Your brother was struggling. So you stole from me, my dad muttered. We didn't think you'd need it. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You didn't think I'd need it. I repeated, you didn't even tell me it existed. You just used it. There was no denial, just silence. I walked out. Jenna helped me get in touch with a family lawyer. The trust was technically still active, but drained. The issue wasn't just family drama anymore, it was fraud. I had every right to press charges, the lawyer confirmed. But here's where it got tricky. If I took this to court, my parents could lose their home. Dylan might face legal consequences too, and I wasn't sure. I wanted to go that far. Not yet. I didn't want revenge. I wanted accountability. so I sent a certified letter instead. It outlined the full amount owed from the trust plus damages. I told them they had 90 days to make a payment plan or I would file. Dylan called me a week later. "You're tearing this family apart," he said. "No," I replied, calm but firm. "You did. That the day you laughed when they gave you my wedding money. Mom's not eating," he said, "Dad's not sleeping. What do you want from us?" "I want the truth." I said, "I want accountability. I want you to grow up." Click 2 days later, I got an email from an anonymous burner account with one sentence: "Ask Ethan about the trip to Dallas." My stomach dropped. Ethan had gone to Dallas last year for a conference, a quick 3-day work thing. We'd barely talked while he was gone, which wasn't that weird at the time, but after the email, something didn't sit right. Asked him. He hesitated. It was just a short thing. "I met with a client, had some drinks with colleagues. Why does someone want me to ask you about it?" He went quiet, then said, "I don't know. Maybe someone's messing with you." But his voice was off now. I had 2 questions: what had my parents done and what had Ethan done? I didn't let it go. I checked Ethan's airline miles, old receipts. Anything I could dig up. Took me a week to find a $500 charge to a fancy hotel in his name. But for 2 guests that same week of the conference, I confronted him again. Hard this time. No room for soft answers. Heffenly cracked. I had dinner with someone, he said, a woman we used to date. She was there for business too. My voice was shaking. Did anything happened? His pause was long. I don't know. He said, "We drank. I woke up next to her. I left. I didn't talk to her after. That's when I knew. He hadn't just kept a secret. He had cheated on me. I moved out that weekend. I packed my bags, left the ring on that bowl, and texted him one line: 'You can explain this to your parents. I'm done.' Then I called the lawyer again. I told him I wanted to go forward with the legal action against my parents. And Delaney didn't care about their guilt or health. I was done with excuses. Within 2 weeks, the paperwork was filed, a formal notice of fraud embezzlement from a family trust, and a court demand for full repayment. It took 4 months to get to court. During that time, Dylan lost his job. Again, my parents tried to settle quietly, but the amount was high, nearly €40,000. After legal costs, they hired a lawyer and tried to spin the story. She never complained. My mom told the judge she didn't need the money. My dad added, "She's just bitter," Dylan said with his usual smirk. But I had the documents, the signed, "Trust the lawyers" statement, and Jenna testified, confirming how the documents were hidden away for years. The judge wasn't impressed with their excuses. Judgment was granted in full. They were given 30 days to begin repayment, or their assets would be frozen. My parents' car was repossessed a month later. Dylan's apartment got locked up again. Their savings were tapped, and my mom blamed me publicly on Facebook, writing long posts about how I was ruined by money and pride. I didn't answer. I didn't have to. Ethan tried to reach out again too. Sent flowers, apology letters, said he was broken, that he missed me, that he still loved me. I blocked him on everything. 6 months later, I used part of the repayment money to book a solo trip to Italy. I stayed in a little village on the coast and spent my days reading, walking, and breathing. For the first time in years, I felt peace. No Ethan, no Dylan, no fake apologies. I took a photo on the last day. Me smiling, glass of wine in hand, sun behind me, and posted it with the caption, "Sometimes you burn it all down so no one else can set fire to you again.